Hi everyone and welcome to Time to Talk, the podcast with Lewis and Reiss. My name's Lewis.
And I'm Reiss.
And in today's podcast we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories. I have two conspiracy theories that I kind of really buy into. The first one came out in 2015. I was looking online. So there's one about Tupac is alive and probably living in Cuba. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, this can't be a thing. But then I actually read into the theory. I looked into it a bit more and read I don't want to say facts because obviously I don't know if it's the truth or not, but I read into what was said on this thing. And it was really interesting, actually. So what the fact is that basically there was a photo circulating online of Tupac dated the 9th of August, 96. But Tupac was apparently shot on the 9th of July, 96. But then this photo from August is apparently the last recorded photo taken of Tupac. So people are thinking the dates don't add up because he was supposedly shot in July.
It's a month apart.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Could that be an issue with how Americans do their time? Because they do month, day.
Possibly, yeah. And I'm also thinking because some cameras, you might take a photo, but on the actual date, it says something different. It could be that as well. I just don't know. So there are things that kind of point to Tupac being alive. So there's that. There's another point here that says there are no keys in the car's ignition. So apparently the way Tupac died was his driver pulled up to a red light and there was a car that pulled up next to him. Then both the people in the car got shot, so Tupac and his driver. Tupac, I think, took most of the bullets. But in the photo, again, the photo that was supposedly taken in August, there's no keys in the ignition. So that, it kind of is just so did he
it's not
drive to the... did he drive to the red light?
So I do remember, is it Surge Night? Is it Surge Night? It's on Ice-T's TMZ show. And he was saying that he did suggest Tupac was still alive. Yeah. Which is a bit absolutely mental.
And even in, I think, is it Kendrick Lamar, his album, I think there's one track in his album that makes mention to the fact that Tupac could still be alive.
I don't know, because it seems like there's quite a few photos of him and people claim that he's still alive.
Yeah, a lot of people are claiming that he's still alive, but then these are also the same people that are claiming that Steve Jobs is still alive.
I think he's definitely dead. But the thing was that it's like, do you remember the Michael Jackson one, where apparently he was still alive because they saw him walking out of the ambulance and stuff like that. I love these kind of ones.
I just think what happens is people will see someone that looks like this famous person, and I think because some people want that person to still be alive, they kind of in their head they kind of make up that they are still alive. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just have a quick look at little Google. 14 shots were fired in total.
Yeah.
So Tupac, did you say he was or wasn't wearing his bulletproof vest?
Well, apparently he was, because apparently he wore it everywhere. So reports are saying that Tupac wore it everywhere. I guess because of the time and because of where he lived and the kind of industry he was in, a lot of those kind of rappers back in the day were always in shootouts and stuff. So it would have been the safer option for him to wear a bulletproof vest, because you never know.
Yeah, because he was known, wasn't he, to wearing a bulletproof vest. I was just reading here that he wasn't actually wearing the bulletproof vest apparently on this particular night. Yeah.
Oh.
Which was very uncharacteristic of him.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I can kind of see it from both sides. I can see why people might think that he's still alive. But I can also obviously see it from the point of he's dead. This is what happened. I can recount the night, blah, blah, blah.
Have you looked into the autopsy photo? Apparently, the coroner listed Tupac as 6 foot tall and 215 pounds, when in reality it was 5'10", 168 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure he wasn't anything near 6 foot.
Clearly
there's some misinformation somewhere. Clearly someone has misreported something, but I guess we'll never know the truth. So the shooters were never found, apparently. The coroner, he left his job straight away or something.
Yeah. And did the driver die? I'm not too sure.
No, the driver didn't die.
So surely, have you looked into him? Has he said anything since that?
I haven't seen any like account of everything that I've researched. I've not seen any account from the driver saying this is what happened on the night. I can recall X, Y, and Z. But I don't know. I guess if it did happen, then it's something really traumatic that he maybe wouldn't want to bring up. And if it didn't happen, then I guess he doesn't want to, say, oh yeah, no, he's not dead.
Was this peak time when him and Biggie were having
Yes, yeah. They were like feuding loads. So people think that it could have been Biggie that actually like made it happen.
Oh, that he called the shots, kind of thing. Do you remember in you probably never listened to it. I think it was Eminem's Kill Shot. He's replied to MGK. He says the day that Diddy admits that he's the one that got who done the call out to get Pat killed. And I was like, ooh. But
see, that adds another layer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could be just that's a play on words from Eminem, but it's just like, why would you have to mention that? It's kind of like...
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Whenever they talk about like rap songs and stuff, I always feel like, but are they saying this just to kind of grab an audience's attention, or are they saying it because it's got some truth behind it? You just never know what their motivations are for saying these things in their rap songs.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just think it's really interesting. Like, it's like this one's a lot less interesting and in depth, but there was a theory going around for years that, the singer Avril Lavigne?
Oh, yeah, I saw this one. Yeah,
apparently she had died like early on in her career, and there was a fan that looked similar to her, and I think it says that her management swapped her out for this fan without telling anyone. Now, again, it could just be that Avril had a bit of a change over the years and changed her style, changed her music choices and things like that. People are genuinely convinced that she died early on and was replaced by a fan.
What kind of songs did she sing? I can't think of her. I can't think of any.
Avril Lavigne sang Skater Boy.
What's that? Sing the melody. Go on.
I
can think of it.
He was a skater boy. He said, "See you later, boy." That one.
Oh god, yeah, that was terrible. Is that her famous? Is that her famous like her top song? Is that her most known?
Have a look at her discography. Avril Lavigne.
You think of like Eminem. You think of like Not Afraid. My name is shit like that, but yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I can think of Avril Lavigne songs, but I can't like vocalize them. If you know what I'm trying to say.
You remember your famous songs?
My all famous songs.
Yeah, what was it? Think About. What's the other one?
Think About was the very first one. That was my pride and joy. Didn't go down very well, obviously.
Yeah.
And then my second one was Live My Life, which again.
All the time I've been thinking about every day I sit next to...
God.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thank you for bringing that back up. I'm so glad that's been brought into the public attention again.
I'll tell you what, that if you release that out now, I reckon that'd be unreal.
It wouldn't. It wasn't unreal back in the day. It would not be unreal now.
I still remember the lyrics, so it's catchy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but catchy doesn't always mean good. Let's just get that one out there. Catchy does not always mean good.
Remember Rebecca Black, Friday?
Oh my
Absolutely
God.
terrible. But now look at her, she's probably fairly well off after that.
Yeah, but to be fair, Friday was actually a kind of well-written song. Think About was not.
Yeah, but it's about, your first love. That never
My first love. My first love, and then she wasn't, and yeah. And then Live My Life was kind of like the kind of, well, I'm a bad bitch anyway, like this is how I live my life, no one can tell me shit. It wasn't very good. So.
Yeah, that was terrible. It's just like trying to get the focus away from the song dedicated to a certain lady out there. Just backfired tremendously.
Trying to get attention of a certain lady out there. Oh my God. Can you believe?
You know what's mad though? You know what's actually mad about that? Like, you used to get annoyed by everyone playing the song all the time, but if you look back at it now, I reckon that everyone would have played that so many times that you would have got like significant figures on that.
You know what? There was a time where I thought, oh my God, everyone's playing this song. They're trying to like mug me off. And they're trying to like make me out to be a fool. But actually I was like, do you know what? Hold on a minute. Hold on just a minute. Because the more you play my song, the more attention it gives to my song. So bring it on.
When are you going to release the next solo song then? That's a good question.
Actually write a decent song.
Or what you're going to go for? Emotional? Are you going to dedicate it to that special girl out there?
Yeah, that special lady out there in my life, trying to find a wife somewhere.
Does everyone know?
Does everyone know what?
Your sexual orientation on this channel or not?
I'm extremely butch, as you can tell by the way I'm talking. So, you know. So go on. What are you thinking in conspiracy theory wise?
The juiciest one for me is the Jeffrey Epstein one. Have you heard about it?
Well, I've heard the name thrown about a few times, but I couldn't sit here and tell you what I've heard of the theory or anything like that.
Well, good old Jeffrey Epstein's dead now. I believe he was murdered. That is the conspiracy theory. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking and sexually abusing a large amount of underage girls. He was facing a 40-year prison sentence. He had good connections with like Harvey Weinstein, etc. So it's kind of evident that he obviously had something to do with it. He pleaded not guilty to the charges, which is a bit like, I don't know why you're doing that, mate. But here's where the conspiracy theory starts getting into like deep. So he was found dead in his cell in Manhattan. Apparent suicide.
Okay.
So the FBI said it was a suicide. If you look at the details of like his case, a few weeks earlier, I think, or possibly months, he apparently was self-conscious from previously trying to commit suicide to himself. Okay. And so he was put under like CCTV was put into his cell, and he had guards outside to keep a check on him. Yeah. So obviously he's like, they've put every precaution, put everything in place to stop him from actually committing suicide, so he can get charged, etc. But then when it comes to the actual death of him, the CCTV in the room malfunctioned, so you can't see inside it, and the two guards that were supposed to protect him were asleep outside. Oh. So you're just like, okay, so both of them are not there to stop him from killing himself. Okay. Apparently, if he was such a suicide risk, his sleep apnea machine was in the room and the extension cords were leading outside the room. So if he was going to kill himself, he would have done it with you probably using the wires, wouldn't he?
Of course, because obviously in prison they take away a lot of things. And if you were going to do something like that, you'd find the closest thing you can to be able to do that.
Yeah, so when you look into it in depth quite a bit on the scene photos of his death, you see that he has like loads of like overcoats for prisoners, the orange overcoats and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the jumpsuit things.
Yeah, that's it, jumpsuits. He had loads of them in his room. He had a pen in his room where he could write notes. And if someone was going to commit suicide with a pen, all they have to do is like stab himself in the throat, etc. Yeah. So it's starting to add up, like, doesn't really look like he has killed himself. But then the coroner actually stated that it points to he was strangled. It wasn't a suicide.
He was strangled?
So he was strangled to death. That's what the coroner reported. Damn. So everyone is saying like, this is clearly like the higher powers, like, political powers, etc. Yeah. Killing him, because he might have it. I'll get to it later, but he could have information on them that could destroy them. Oh, okay. So when you look at the pictures and the autopsy report, it all leads to homicide. Like, he was just straight up strangled. The bone fractures in his jaw, the coroner was like, these almost never ever happen in a hanging. And when you consider it's in his cell, when you consider it's in his cell and it's a 6 foot man, I think maybe just a bit taller than 6 foot, it's nigh on impossible to cause that much force to himself in the room. Yeah, because
a cell's a certain height, isn't it? And if you're so tall, then it's not gonna really affect you if the cell's like really small. Yeah, exactly. So the coroner, and I quote the coroner now, it was extremely unusual in suicide hangings, the bones that he fractured in his jaw. Okay, because the neck thing would make sense. If he had like strangled himself to death, that would make sense with hanging. But if you're talking about the jaw as well, then that kind of doesn't add up, does it? Yeah, all the evidence points to him being kind of just murdered in his cell, and everything they put in place to protect him from apparently killing himself either didn't work or malfunctioned or they were asleep, etc., which makes no actual sense. No. But then when you start going deeper, just focusing on Epstein himself. Yeah. He had links to Clinton Foundation, the Clintons, the Trump, even the royal family with Prince Andrew, the Queen's son. Oh, yeah. So it all came out, Jeffrey Epstein with the Clintons, Bill Clinton, to be precise. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein had 2 private islands in, I believe it was the Caribbean islands, like 2 private islands for himself. Mm-hmm. They were known as the Pedophile Islands. Oh, Jesus. What nice names for islands, huh? Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a damp now, isn't it? So, for a guy who had a job as basically being an investor, etc., why would someone in that finance role, like for finance/investor, have a net worth of over 500 million and be connected to the President of the United States as well as the royal family in England? You know what I'm saying? Damn. And then when you just look at all the evidence that's just stacked up against the potential, suicide, it just looks like he had dirt on the royal family and politicians, and they're just trying to get rid of him because he had enough dirt, I reckon, on everyone just to get himself free. But I think that kind of adds up, because I've heard of cases in the past where someone has had something on an authority figure and then all of a sudden that person's dead or that person's been silenced in some way, shape or form. And I feel like it happens a lot because obviously if you're an authority figure and you're supposed to have a certain image, you don't want that potential image to be tarnished because of something that somebody else knows. So you're going to try and do everything that you can to silence that person and make sure they don't disclose the information that you don't want to be disclosed.
Of course, and I think this is when Hillary was running for like president, etc. So of course they just wanted it to be hush hush, like under the carpet kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. And I think that maybe didn't help her then.
Oh, of course. Like she's just a bad woman anyway, and the Clintons are just awful people. But this is just like the cherry on the cake. That's why I think that Trump had such a landslide when he won.
Yeah, potentially. Like now that I know the Jeffrey Epstein thing, potentially that's why. But I also just think that the way that America was, obviously they had Barack Obama for 8 years. But there were so many Americans that found it crazy that there was a black man heading their country. And they found it so like this is strange, this is taboo to us. I cannot believe that a man of colour is leading our country. So when Donald Trump came in as this kind of like pinnacle of everything that America stands for, these Americans, these like hardcore, like, you know, these radical people that were basically saying like Barack Obama's not a good president because he's black, not because of what he's done, but because of his skin colour. These are the same people that are like, I'm going to vote Trump because he stands for traditional American values.
Of course, core racism in the US.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they will never accept the fact that it's racism. Like, a lot of his policies are and were fueled by racism. And essentially, it was just like, we want America for the Americans. But
I'll be honest, America is one of those countries that is just completely rotten from top to bottom. It just is. It is
now.
One of the things.
I don't think
it's always been like that.
When Barack Obama was in office, I feel like America kind of took a step forward, and it was like a really progressive step forward, and a lot more things were happening in a good way. But then I feel like as soon as Trump came into power, he kind of erased everything that had happened the 8 years before.
So I just think I think Barack Obama was just a puppet. I do. I honestly just think he was just a puppet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was against Hillary Clinton, wasn't it? Both times, was it?
I think one time was against Mitt Romney, I believe.
Yeah, so I think with Hillary Clinton, in the US, it's rather a black man or a woman, and I think the women will never win.
And that's the thing, and that's the other thing about America.
Yeah, and I think maybe with Mitt Romney, people just didn't trust him.
Yeah, I think the first time, because he ran in 2008 and 2012. So I think in 2008, people thought like, oh my gosh, this guy is like a breath of fresh air. Or majority of Americans thought, oh gosh, this guy is a breath of fresh air. He really knows what he's talking about. His policies seem really good. Let's get him in because it's different. It's new. This has never been done before. It's amazing. People would much rather see a man of colour in office than a woman because he's a man. Yeah. Hillary had no chance both times.
Yeah, for the Democratic Party. Yeah, because obviously it's into political party fights, which was Barack Obama and Hillary. And it's between, obviously, the main presidential election was against John McCain and Barack Obama, which I think 9 times out. I think the Democratic Party wins most of the time, don't they? I'm assuming so anyway.
I'm assuming so. I don't know.
So I think it's just one of the things. I think Democratic usually wins, but not too sure. What's Trump then? Trump must be the complete opposite, obviously, because that's why it was such a shock.
I think he's a Republican, yeah.
But going back to the Jeffrey Epstein thing, I think this happens so many times where people in power are killed for having too much information. Just going to quickly mention this, and then if people want me to expand on it more, but I truly believe that Princess Diana was killed because she was falling in love with an Egyptian Muslim, and the royal family could not accept that he could potentially become the King of England.
I believe the exact same thing.
Yeah, I fully believe that.
Now, I know there are going to be people that agree with us, people that disagree with us. We're open to this discussion. We're open to all comment. But I what I've read up, things that I've researched about, I believe that it was kind of done, I don't want to say on purpose, but I believe that there was a way to get Diana kind of out of the picture.
You know, I also find what kind of backs up that story as well. Prince Harry and Meghan, that backs up that story, because if you look on, you know what I'm saying, when she was coming to the wedding and there's a big bang, Harry's lips literally say, I hope Meghan's okay. It's just like, mate, he knows. He just knows, kind of thing.
I also think it's really like unfair the way that the media has portrayed the two princesses. So if you think about the way that the media talks about Kate Middleton, they think that she is like the nation's sweetheart and she is like this perfect figure, and she probably is. I don't know her, you know. I can only see what I have seen online. But then Meghan can do the exact same thing as Kate, and the media will kind of like report it in a kind of passive aggressive way.
Just racism, mate. The thing is, like, look what happened with around. Toilet paper went out, skyrocketed. Eggs went disappearing. It's just ridiculous. People are dumb. Average human is dumb, but that's my little rant Oh.
I think it comes down to, although people do want to help each other out, although people do want to say that, oh, you're a part of a community and stuff, I think there is still a lot of this whole mentality of every man for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's just kill or be killed, isn't it? That's what I reckon it is.
Yeah, because it's like
toilet paper.
I know. I never understood that. I never understood why, when there's a pandemic and it's all about, you know, you have a cold and flu-like symptoms. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
flu-like symptoms have never been that you get, you know, any kind of stomach problems or
like diarrhea and shit in your pants and that.
Yeah, I've never heard of any flu-like symptoms to be like that. So unless something's changed,
I think the only problem is that the majority of like health services around the world have been severely underfunded for like things such as war, etc. That when something like this, which could be a minuscule problem if we had enough funding for the NHS, etc., that it wouldn't be a fucking problem. But because we just don't have we don't prioritise the NHS, it was just such a huge hit on us, and that's why the lockdown was so effective. Because when you look at Sweden, for example, they've had like literally next to no lockdown rules.
Sweden's like the perfect country, though. Like you always hear things in the news about Sweden have done X, Y, and Z. Sweden are like the perfect country.
Yeah, Scandinavian countries are all love them, don't you?
They're just good. They just know how to deal with everyone, and I just think they're really good countries. I should move to Sweden.
I don't think you'd suit the weather.
No, I think I'd stick out a little bit. I remember I went to Sweden on a school trip back in year 7. No, this is a genuine thing. I went to Sweden on a school trip in year 7, and we got there, and I looked around, and people were like looking at me as if I was some kind of artifact. I was like, wow, have you really never seen a black person before?
I've seen when people like black people go to like China and stuff, and people like start taking pictures of them and everything.
Yeah. My uncle went to Japan a couple of years ago, and he went there, and it was him and I think 3 of his other friends, and I think one of his other friends is black as well. But they went there, and people were literally staring at them. People were like getting their phones out, taking photos. I guess if you've been in a society where it's predominantly Chinese, Japanese people have got fairer skin, obviously. If you haven't seen that many black people or other people of colour, then it is going to be a new thing to you.
Yeah, of course. But it's kind of mad though. How have you seen what's been happening in China recently?
No.
Like they're banning black people from their shops. Yeah, they're banning black people from their shops. If you have a black tenant, kick them out. Like it's like what? I don't understand it. It's like all on Twitter and everything, all in the news. Like
this is news to me.
Yeah, China are persecuting Muslims and black people. It's generally a major problem, and there's no one's batting an eyelid to it.
Crazy. Is it for any reason, or is it just because they just woke up one day and thought, do you know what? Let's get rid of them.
Apparently they've been doing it for Muslims for ages, and I think for black people, etc. I think that's more recent. I think that's I think they think that they cause corona. I think something like that.
Yeah, I've seen something like that online where people are reporting about, there's been this many cases of coronavirus in like Kenya or places like that. But the way that they're reporting it makes it sound as if to say like, oh, no people have died. Ugh. As if to say, oh God, why have no black people died from it? I don't know. Yeah. I could be reading into it wrong, but I've seen things online that have essentially had that narrative of like, oh, it's in Africa, like it's in African countries, but not many people have died from it.
So if you ask me, when it comes to like hot countries, they shouldn't be affected by like a virus like this, because usually in the summer months, I'm pretty sure, in Africa, is it mainly warm most of the year?
Yeah, most of the year, because of some of the country's locations in relation to like the equator and stuff.
Yeah.
For example, like my grandma's from Zambia, and she says it's warm there. Whether it's hot and sunny there is a different thing, but it's warm there pretty much all year round, even in like our winter months.
Okay, so yes, so they'll never be truly affected by the virus that thrives in the cold then. So it makes sense for most African nations to not be affected by this virus.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But I think people are kind of up in arms about it because obviously a lot of African countries are developing countries, and so they feel like, hold on, we've got all this healthcare, we've got access to all of these different resources, and loads of us are dying. But in those countries where they've got limited resources and limited healthcare, how come a lot of them are surviving? You know, it's kind of like it's not fair on our nation and our people, and I just don't like that mentality. And that's the thing, it comes down to it.
I don't know, man. It's mental. It's kind of mental how everyone is just indoctrinated to be racist. It's kind of mental.
Yeah, I think there is still a lot of racism that goes on in the world. It's not as much as it used to be, obviously, but I still think it's very, very prevalent in society.
I think it's worse. I think they're just more. I think they're just clever with it. More clever. I don't know. More. can't think of the word, but more sly with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's just like slowly. Because if you ask majority of people, wouldn't show them how they feel, I reckon most people would still be racist.
Yeah, but I think though, I don't think some people are racist because they are being racist. I think some people are racist because they are, and I mean this in the kindest way possible, they're uneducated, and not in a way that's like they don't have qualifications or anything like that, but they don't know the facts about certain things, people, societies, that they might say things that they think or they have heard that may not be the truth, but because they haven't had the full like kind of education on actually this is the case, that's why they think that certain way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because the lack of knowledge would be
that's the one, lack of knowledge. Instead of being uneducated, it's like a lack of knowledge, and it's kind of like you might say something that you think is innocent, but actually it could offend somebody of a different race to you, or a different culture to you, because it comes for them, it comes to a place of like, oh, well, actually, we're an oppressed group of people, and that's an oppressive thing. That used to be kind of said to us or done to us to oppress us.
I'm with you. Yeah, of course.
There's like, so many times where like I'll walk down the road, like completely innocently, I'll just walk down the road, and even still some people will like look at me and cross the road, or they'll like move to the side or things like that. And I don't know, I guess it is a lot more older people, so I guess in their generation it was very different and things were very, very different to how it is now. But it still makes me feel like, oh, I can't even walk down a road without someone looking at me, making a predisposed judgment and crossing.
Yeah, people feel threatened by just by the presence of you.
Yeah. And I'm like the least threatening person in the world.
Yeah, you are, to be fair.
I'm like a pussycat.
Well, it's just a matter of time, innit? I reckon after this corona goes away, I reckon there'd be a lot of changes in work life, in the structure of society, etc.
I feel like a lot is definitely going to change.
Time will tell, though. It's exciting.
I'll tell you what I find hilarious. I've just come across an article here, and the actual title of the article says, "Are flat earthers being serious?" Now, what is your whole opinion on the whole flat earth theory?
See, this is actually a tricky one for me, because I can see their point.
Yeah.
But the problem is that when you ask them to draw like a diagram of like the solar system, every other planet is round bar ours, and then I'm just thinking, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but no.
What do you think?
In the same way as you, I can kind of see it from both sides.
Yeah, I could see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, like some people will point out that if you look at a coastline, it's flat. Like it doesn't look curved, and it just looks flat.
Wait, what are we talking about now? When the boat's on the sea or just on the coast?
No, like if you're like if you're on a beach, if you're standing on a beach and you're looking at the water, like at the coastline, when you look straight ahead of you, it just looks flat. It doesn't look circular. It doesn't look anything like that. It does just look flat. But I guess that's just the way our eyes are, and
you wouldn't be able to tell even because you can't see a dip. You know what I'm saying? And the gradient of like circumference would be so minuscule that your eyes wouldn't be able to detect it now. But have you never seen the ship explanation?
Well, I've seen that people who don't believe in the flat Earth theory are like, well, hold on. If a ship went to the end of the water, they would fall.
No, I'm not on about that one. I'm on about like. When you see a ship going over the horizon, it should all disappear in one go. Yeah. But it's slowly. It's like you'll still see parts because it's curved. You'll still see parts of the boat until it's fully gone over the curve. You never seen that one?
I haven't seen that one. No.
What were you doing in science lessons, man?
Burning alkalis and swirling in test tubes and playing Bunsen burners. I also was getting told off quite a lot in science because our old science teacher used to hate me. I don't even know why. One? Like, do you remember from year 10 with Dr. Chung?
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He used to hate me.
He was too good for the job, to be fair, man. He was an actual doctor. Why was he teaching? Not secondary.
He was a very good teacher, but I think he didn't like me because I was quite eccentric. And there was one time where we were in a study session and I decided with one of my other friends that we would feng shui the room. And when he came in, he was like, what the hell's happened?
What's feng shui?
Oh, so feng shui is like, it's kind of like where you rearrange furniture and put different things in different places. So like we had put some of the stools like on the desks and we'd move things around and all that kind of stuff. We were like, oh look, so we've feng shuied.
But if he, the thing is, Dr. Chung was Chinese, so he probably just thinks he's taking piss. Look, think of the words you just used.
No, but feng shui is a term that people use on a general, you know.
I've never heard of it in my life. I won't lie to you.
Well, that's because you're not knowledgeable.
Oh, says the one that completely got wrong this 2-pack conspiracy. All your facts
didn't get it wrong.
Okay. Well, it was a bit. You had holes in it.
I was reading what I read from the article that I found. So
yeah, the article was completely false. Anyway, carry on.
About that.
Yeah, no, I was talking to you. You're supposed to do your research, mate, and it was terrible. We'll forget about it. We'll forget.
I don't even care.
Your flat Earth one. Carry on. I'm listening.
Yeah, so like, I can see it from the point of view of like, well, everything looks flat, but I can see where people are coming from in terms of the flat Earth theory.
Okay, so did you see that Red Bull guy that jumped out of the sky?
No.
He went to the highest point atmosphere and jumped down into Earth. From the video, you can't tell if the Earth is round because they use like what's that camera called when it makes things circular? Concave camera or something like that? Not too sure. So even then would be the perfect chance for you to see if it was flat or not, because they use a different type of camera to get him in shot. It was just terrible because it just gave more fuel to the fire for flat earthers.
Yeah, I don't know. As I say, I don't personally believe it, but I can kind of, now that I've read up on some things, I can kind of see where people are coming from.
Is this the same articles you read as the Tupac conspiracy?
No, it's a different article. This is livescience.com, so it says the word science in it, so I believe it.
Oh, God.
But also, it is from 2017, so this could be a bit out of date.
A bit. 2017. I think a lot of things changed in 3 years, mate. Fuck you now. Okay, as you were talking about flat Earth, you have to do this one. Did you believe in the moon landing? Yes or no?
Yes, but only because I was told so much about what had happened, and like. Okay. Because I feel like it's one of those things where you would have had to sit down for ages to make up all of these different facts and things. I think it did happen, because it's kind of like a situation of why would people lie about it?
Well, USSR and USA were having a space race, the first one to obviously reach the moon, and I think potentially it was just one of them things, my dad's bigger than your dad kind of things, with USA and USSR. So yeah. I could believe if USA never actually been to the moon, but it's not my place to say. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into it, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like I've heard so much about it, but I haven't properly looked into it and anything. But I believe that it happened. I don't have any reason to not believe that it happened. So yeah, personally, I believe that it happened. I don't know. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast today.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that, please do make a comment so that we can join in the discussion, and tune in next week for our next podcast.
Thank you, beautiful people.
We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you liked our discussion. And if you did, then please leave us a comment below, like this video, share it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.